Noticing anomalies in the election system, the largest democracy in the world, Mr. Gandhi says, is under siege from systemic vote rigging. He also says that the Congress party and the rest of the India bloc, the opposition alliance, their strategy is to challenge the integrity of the electoral process. Now, the BJP has attacked him. They're saying that this is proof of an anti-India agenda that Rahul Gandhi and the opposition are running. They also say that this is undermining the integrity of the electoral process and thereby sowing the seeds of doubt in the very foundations of India's democracy, which is the election exercise that we have every 5 years. Does Mr. Gandhi's charge of vote chori add up? And will it stand the test of law and the test of scrutiny? Or is the idea to sow the seeds of doubt so that people across the length and breadth of this country distrust one of the fundamental pillars of democracy, which is the electoral system? But first, I want to play out what Rahul Gandhi claimed in this FT interview. He's given an extensive interview to the Financial Times, and he says that the Congress party has been noticing for some time now anomalies in the election system, and that the world's largest democracy, which is India, he claims, is under siege from systemic vote rigging by the government of the day, the government of Narendra Modi. Rahul Gandhi has also added that centralized manipulation of voter rolls is responsible for stealing votes. And he says it's the guy at the top who is responsible for this. The guy at the top being the Chief Election Commissioner, Ganesh Kumar. Rahul also claimed in that interview that the party's strategy, the Congress party's strategy, when he was asked a question as to why don't you approach the courts, was that the strategy is to challenge the integrity of the electoral system, and he plans to do it by building public pressure, and that pressure, he feels, will then be brought to bear on the Modi government. Let's listen in to some political reactions, and then I'll get you what the BJP's response is to Rahul Gandhi's allegations.
ये वही राहुल गांधी है जिसने कहा था कि वो इंडियन स्टेट के खिलाफ लड़ना चाहते हैं। क्या इसके बाद कोई प्रमाण चाहिए कि राहुल गांधी का एजेंडा भारत विरोधी और आम्बेडकर जी के संविधान विरोधी है?
गांधी परिवार पर सवाल उठाते हैं, जो 48 साल जेल में रहा जिनका परिवार। सवाल उठाने वाले लोग कम से कम अपने गिरेबान में झांक के देखें, अपने पुरखों के गिरेबान में झांक के देखें कि आजादी के आंदोलन में अंग्रेजों की चाटुकारिता और दलाली और मुखबिरी जिन लोगों ने की, वो आज की डेट में राहुल गांधी जी को और कांग्रेस पार्टी को ज्ञान दे रहे हैं।
Now, the BJP says that Rahul Gandhi has made it a habit to undermine India's institutions. Is that the lure, though? Now, here are some examples that have been cited. Now, just today, Rahul Gandhi said, and the Congress party said, that a hydrogen bomb is coming soon against the Election Commission, and he'll blow the lid off how India's constitution is under attack. A few days ago, he also appealed to India's youth and to India's Gen Z to rise up and save democracy and protect the constitution, much like Gen Z in Nepal or in Bangladesh. In April of this year, Rahul Gandhi said that the Election Commission was compromised and that something was seriously wrong with the electoral system. And what made that worse is that he said that these comments, in fact, were actually made when he was on one of his foreign trips. It was not even said in Parliament or in a political rally back home. It was said on one of the foreign trips. In March of last year, when referring to the opposition leaders being jailed, whether it was Kejriwal or Hemant Soren or others, Rahul Gandhi said that a scared dictator was capturing India's institutions and creating a dead democracy. But despite the furor, the Congress only has doubled down on its attack and on the Election Commission, and in specific, the Chief Election Commissioner, Ganesh Kumar.
हम अलग-अलग जिलों में गए और बिहार के युवाओं को हमने बताया कि इस संविधान पर आक्रमण हो रहा है। सिर्फ बिहार में नहीं, पूरे देश में आपका जो हक है, हर हिंदुस्तानी नागरिक का जो हक है, वो आपसे चोरी किया जा रहा है।
कि अगले 1 महीने में मिनी हाइड्रोजन बम, यूरेनियम बम, प्लूटोनियम बम, अलग अलग बम फोड़ने वाले हैं अलग अलग जगहों में। ये शुरुआत है। कर्नाटक के महादेवपुरा और आनंद से जुड़े हुए जो खुलासे हुए हैं, ये एक शुरुआत है।
All right, I want to go across to our political face-off. Radhika Khera of the BJP will be joining us. Dr. Shama Mohammed, national spokesperson of the Congress, is joining us. Dr. Shama Mohammed, the BJP's contention is that what Rahul Gandhi has said in his Financial Times interview is proof of his anti-India agenda. This is a bid to engineer distrust in the electoral system. And Mr. Gandhi has said it in as many words that the party strategy, the Congress party strategy, is to challenge the integrity of the electoral system by building public pressure. So are you saying that now Indians need to start doubting the integrity and the veracity of elections, which is one of the fundamental pillars of our democracy?
So you started with anti-India. The Bharatiya Janata Party accused us of being anti-India and Rahul Gandhi. Anti-India is when our Jawans get killed by Pakistan, like in Pathankot, and then you invite the ISI, the Home Minister, the Narendra Modi government, invites ISI, the perpetrators, to investigate the crime. Anti-India is when you go and on your way from Afghanistan, you drop down in Pakistan and visit the Pakistanis, Nawaz Sharif. That is anti-India. Anti-India is when Advani went to Jinnah's grave and spoke highly. That is anti-India. We never do any of these things. We have never done it. Now, let me make one thing very clear. There is an allegation against Gyanesh Kumar and the Election Commission. Mr. Gandhi has done 2 press conferences. And in the last press conference, he spoke about Alan and he said how voter deletion was going to happen. And we found out about it. Now, the most important point is FIR was filed by the Election Commission in 2023 with that. When the CID asked for 18 months for the IP portals and various things linked to it, they refused to give and they did not respond to the CID. Now, we also show, and the Election Commission says nobody else can delete your voter ID other than you. Now, 3 days ago, Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw tweeted saying, my mother's voter ID has been deleted. She has been staying here for 19 years and she's very upset. I saw the tweet for some time, then I see the tweet deleted because pressure from the government of India that we will send ED to your businesses, you better delete it. Now,
Dr. Shama Mohammed, please come back to the question I asked you. What does Mr. Gandhi mean by the Congress party's strategy is to challenge the integrity of the electoral system by building public pressure? Are you asking the people of India to say, look, we don't have faith in our democracy, we don't have faith in our election system? Because that's the essence of what he's saying.
No, we had faith. What has happened is they passed a bill in which they have put the Election Commission above everything, and where the Prime Minister, along with the Cabinet Minister, and the Leader of Opposition is one, of course, there are 3 of them involved, they select the Election Commission. My issue today is when Rahul Gandhi has gone out with evidences, both Qureshi as well as Ashok Lavasa said the Election Commissioner has to respond. That is what in democracy. Every time we say something, they tell us, the Bharatiya Janata Party, go to court, whether it was Rafael, any of the things. So let the court replace the executive. We don't need the executive, no? The government says every time go to court. What is this go to court thing? Why is that the Election Commission, and he has shown facts, there are evidence, you respond to that.
Okay.
The only thing they say is that
Radhika Khera, please respond. They are saying that, look, the Leader of the Opposition has raised some serious allegations. The job of the Election Commission is to respond to those allegations. Your reflexive response can't be, oh, go give a court case.
Good evening to everyone. And let me just begin with the accusation on Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw. Well, the Congress spokesperson here raked up a tweet which has been deleted. Well, Ms. Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw has gone on to say that her mother got her voter ID after it was taken up, so hence she went and deleted it. I'm sure that you have enough office, whereas when your Srijan is going on, you have enough Karyakata, ha ha or ho ho. Please don't interrupt. You had your time. So coming back to it, Zaka. I'm sure they have enough Karyakartas. Their booth workers can go to Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw's mother's house and check if she actually got her voter ID or not, which is a normal procedure. If somebody in this country has an issue, they pick it up. If it's solved, they delete it. Having said that, right, when you're talking about Rahul Gandhi picking up an issue, Rahul Gandhi subha kya kehte hai, Zaka, and what Rahul Gandhi says in the evening, Rahul Gandhi himself does not know. I will not go back to the press conference he did in Karnataka, the first one, where then he had to throw away his own minister, Mr. Rajanna, for pulling it out that all this has been happening in the Congress time. But Rahul Gandhi in his recent press conference said that about 6,000 odd votes had been deleted. Now, sham hote, 6 p.m., Rahul Gandhi goes on to tweet, had the 6,000 votes been deleted, we would have lost. And very conveniently, he forgets to talk about the Malur assembly, which just 2 days back was the election result was cancelled by the court. The court cancelled the Malur election from Karnataka, a seat which was won by Congress because of what? Vote chori. Why did Rahul Gandhi not talk about the seat that time? He's talking about the 6,000 votes which were apparently deleted in the morning. By evening, they were not deleted. Rahul Gandhi is very confused. So, like the Election Commission said, if you're putting any, and I'm not the Election Commission spokesperson here, but as a normal citizen, if the Election Commission is saying that you are saying something else in the morning and something else in the evening, give a written affidavit. What's the
No, but Radhika Khera, in the Aland constituency, Rahul Gandhi and the Congress party's claim is, and the Karnataka government, the Karnataka CID is investigating this matter, and FIR was filed at the behest of the Election Commission in 2023. The Karnataka CID is saying that they have written to the Election Commission 18 times, and the Election Commission has not responded.
Who was in power at the time when this was done? The Congress was not in power. The BJP government was there in Karnataka. Simple. Second thing, why is it that every time there is an issue that is raked up or an election that is cancelled, it is always the Congress who has won on that seat? Even on this seat, Congress has only won the issue that is. Every time there is a vote chori arop on some seat, the winner of that seat somehow is Congress. Very conveniently. And also, when you're talking about the Election Commission, I will repeat again. Please ask your team to show that clip. In the morning when Rahul Gandhi did the press conference, he categorically said that 6,080 or whatever he claimed votes had been deleted.
Okay.
And then you please show his tweet. In the evening, he says, had those votes been deleted? Now he has to decide whether those votes were deleted or not.
Mohammed, as far as Aland is concerned, even if all those 6,000 votes happen to be that of the Congress, and had they been deleted, the Congress candidate would have still won because he won by over 10,000 votes. Those 6,000 would not have made a difference. That's one. Two, and just to add to what Radhika Khera has said, it makes sense if the Congress is making an allegation that your voters' names have been deleted and therefore your candidate lost. In Mahadevpura, where the allegation was 1 lakh extra voters have been added, the Congress has not won that seat in God knows how many elections now. It's a BJP stronghold seat.
See, you can say BJP stronghold. Now, let's look at how Rahul Gandhi is selected. He selected Aland, where we won, and Rajora in Maharashtra, where we lost. So, he's trying to say, even where we won, there are issues. He's trying to be as transparent as possible. It is not about what he's trying to say is that Aland, if we did not detect it, then of course it would have been a disaster. And the other thing you said is 10,000 votes. Suppose if 5,000 goes down for us and 5,000 increases for the Bharatiya Janata Party, then who wins? The Bharatiya Janata Party candidate. So these are the small margins. It is not 50,000 or 1 lakh. So let's understand that they try everywhere. But of course, sometimes we find out, sometimes we don't. So that is what we are trying to say. And she mentioned that when you asked her why 18 times they have not replied to the CID, so she says that who's the government? What do you mean by what's the government? The Election Commission is there, and it is supposed to be an independent body, not supposed to be reporting. So she thinks the Election Commission is reporting to a certain government. And that could, of course, because the Bharatiya Janata Party, for them, the Election Commission reports to the Bharatiya Janata Party.
Okay.
She just threw it out right now saying, who's the government?
Radhika Khera, the problem is also that the Election Commission is not being entirely above board. I mean, the Election Commissioner, the state electoral officer should respond to this, saying as to why they haven't responded for 18 times, that the CID claims that it's written to the Election Commission for an FIR which the Election Commission itself identified and complained.
They have filed the FIR.
Let her respond,
Okay. Zakir, if the Election Commission has not responded, you should question the Election Commission, not me. I'm not the Election Commission spokesperson and I cannot answer for them.
Why do you come to debate supporting the Election Commission?
No, one second, ma'am, please.
Oh God.
One second.
Why do you call such trolls? Come on, coming back to the topic.
No, sorry. She's so sorry. Zaka.
Oh
Abuse has started. No. Zaka, abuse has started.
Can we move on, please? Can we move on? Okay, Radhika Khera, let's please keep it civil.
I don't normally
abuse each other. Okay, let's move to the substantive part. Please answer my question.
The
junior cannot be
Zaka,
debating. I didn't know she's coming. Normally I don't debate with this lady.
Can you please control her?
Shama, I've made a request. No abuse. Let's get to the substance of the debate, please. Yes.
Zaka, two things. If she does not want to debate, she's most welcome to leave. Second, normally you don't debate, you don't decide, and I'm glad she's left. Two things let me complete over here. अगर मेरे देश के प्रधानमंत्री को लगातार चोर कहा जाएगा, I used a very civil and parliamentary word troll, which is allowed in the parliament. I did not use any abuse. आप मेरे देश के प्रधानमंत्री को रोज गाली देते हैं और मैं इनको सच्चाई भी नहीं दिखा सकती. I'm sorry, that's not the way it works. It has to be equal on both ends. Having said that, if like she said that Rahul Gandhi believes that in their own seats if there has been some discrepancy and he's picked it up, well, Rahul Gandhi should come out and make his people resign on those seats. If he's found some discrepancies on seats that are particularly the Congress seats, why isn't he taken the high moral ground and said we will resign and there should be a fresh election and there should be a check on that seat? What's stopping Rahul Gandhi from doing that? भाई oath sign करके paper नहीं दे सकते. He can get his elected person to resign and there can be fresh elections if there's a third thing. Now she's talked about many things, election commission, ED, everything. Ma'am, let's start with the first thing. You said the ED, you said that Miss Kiran Majumdar, you said because Kiran Majumdar raised a very important question of
No, please, Shama, come on, no, not this way. You know, on my debate, there's no crosstalk like this. Not this way. No, please. Let her make a point. I will come back to you, but let her make a point one at a time. Please, come on.
I will go back to the start of the debate where she raised the point that because Kiran Majumdar-Shaw raised the question of her mother's name being cut off the voter list, she deleted the tweet because we said that she was afraid of the ED. Does the Congress spokesperson here even know who the ED comes under? Can you please ask her this from me? Because if I ask her, she'll start jumping like a popcorn and not answer. Who does the ED come under? Who does the ED report to? Which Mantralaya, ma'am? Simple question, basic. Since you said that because of her name being cut, the ED will be sent, who does the ED report to? Which Mantralaya? Which ministry?
Your mic is on mute, I think, Shama. Okay, it's up now.
No, she doesn't have
it's up now. It's up now. Yeah, okay.
Of course, the government. What is this? A question answers thing. We all know who
she
the government
ED reports to. You accuse about who? Which ministry?
Home Ministry is where the ED reports to.
Home Ministry. The ED reports to the Home Ministry, madam. The ED reports to the Finance Ministry. You do not even know who the ED reports to, and you're saying that the ED will be sent. The ED comes under the Finance Ministry. Please don't be a Rahul Gandhi. Be a Shama Mohammed. You're a doctor. You should know this. Before making false accusations, the ED idhar jayega, you don't even know the basic thing who the ED reports to.
Doesn't matter. It's the government of India.
The Home Ministry.
So the Home Minister is only taking decisions. You think the Finance Minister takes any decision? It is the Home Ministry because Amit Shah takes decisions.
I got to wrap it up with that. We'll leave it at that. Radhika Khera and Shama Mohammed. Let's see how this plays out. Rahul Gandhi clearly has made his playbook clear and open that he wants the public to rise up and start asking questions of the integrity of the electoral process. The first test of which I suspect will be in Bihar, where he's undertaken this voter adhikar yatra and against this SIR exercise. I want to move on to another story, and this is a big one that's happened today in Ladakh. We're just getting in some information that the Lieutenant Governor of Ladakh, Kavinder Gupta, has put out a statement. He strongly condemned the unfortunate incident that happened in Leh town earlier today, which led to the loss of lives and injuries to several civilians and security personnel. The LG has taken serious note of the stone pelting and the arson incidents that happened, which of course led to a law and order situation. It's resulted in damage to the democratic institutions and to public infrastructure. The LG has directed the administration and law enforcement agencies to ensure strict measures for the restoration of normalcy and for the safety of the public. He's also emphasized that violence in any form is unacceptable and will not be tolerated. I want to play out the bite of what the government officials are saying as to what led to that flare-up in Leh earlier this afternoon.
कुछ दिनों से जिस प्रकार से हम जानते हैं लद्दाख में एक अनशन रखा गया और हम चाहते हैं कि अनशन एक लोकतांत्रिक व्यवस्था का एक पार्ट है, लेकिन पिछले एक दो दिनों से जिस प्रकार से लोगों को भड़काया जाना, नेपाल और बांग्लादेश के साथ उसकी तुलना करना, कुछ लोग हम आने वाले समय में आग लगा देंगे, ये कर देंगे, पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज़ के ऑफिस को करेंगे, लोगों के घरों में जाकर के उनको मारेंगे, ये कौन सा तरीका है? इस प्रकार के जो तरीके हैं, इसको हम लोकतंत्र की व्यवस्था के खिलाफ मानते हैं।
I want to go across to my colleague Ishan Wani, who's joining us live. Ishan, so the LG's also put out a statement. Clearly, there was an attempt at arson, at looting, at a degree of lawlessness that was happening there. What led to this? And I believe the head of the Autonomous Council there has also confirmed, unfortunately, some loss of lives.
Well, absolutely right, Zaka. There are two versions of the story. One is from those who have been protesting, particularly Sonam Wangchuk, who has inspired Three Idiots by Amir Khan. And he's a real Funsuk Wangdu, who was Amir Khan had got in that movie. But he has been protesting and demanding statehood and restoration and giving back, some constitutional guarantees to the Ladakh, because they fear their land and jobs could be taken away after the J&K bifurcated into two union territories. And that's why they have been sitting on a hunger protest. This is not for the first time. He has done it in the past, but nothing moved. Then talks were held in Delhi, and they believe that Delhi is very slow in listening to their demands. And today what happened was that yesterday there were two protesters who fainted, and then Sonam Wangchuk claims that because of the fainting of these two elderly protesters who were on hunger strike from the last 14 days, angered the youngsters, that the center is not taking their demands seriously, which led to arson. Now, there are challenges in front of the administration in Ladakh, because Ladakh has always been peaceful. Never ever have such kind of scenes being witnessed on the streets of Ladakh, and that's why it has been concerning. And Lieutenant Governor of Ladakh has come out and made a statement that Ladakh is peaceful, and he appeals to the brothers and sisters of Ladakh to remain peaceful and not to fall prey to any political outfit or their appeals that they should hit the streets. And that's why precautionary curfew has also been imposed in Leh to ensure that lives are saved. Though even the Lieutenant Governor has said that he is in solidarity with those lives who have been lost. But yesterday there was a massive allegation, against the Congress itself, that their leader had made a provocative speech of calling for youth to come on streets for stone pelting and arson, and that's why the BJP has taken the Congress head on, claiming that they were the ones who instigated the youngsters there. And there's nothing like a Gen Z protest or the young protesters. It is the Congress who has instigated the protesters and diverted them. And that's why Sonam Wangchuk even today cancelled his protest and said the lives have to be saved.
Okay, Ishan Wani, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for joining us. Ishan there reporting for us from Srinagar. We'll keep an eye out on the situation in Leh. I want to move on to the other story we're tracking. US President Donald Trump told world leaders at the United Nations General Assembly yesterday that India and China were the main funders of the war in Ukraine because they continue to purchase Russian oil. Now, you can quibble with that. You can say that that's completely false. That's not the reason why Putin launched his war, all of which are, factually right, and you may have a point. But Trump also criticized the NATO countries for not doing enough to cut their energy imports from Moscow. But Ukrainian President Zelensky, who is in fact speaking tonight, he sort of countered Trump. He went up on Fox News and he said that, as far as India is concerned, and he was asked a specific question about India and its position on the Ukraine war, he said that India stands with his country, Ukraine. And there is a small energy problem, which he said President Trump can sort out pretty soon. Now, this comes at a time when President Trump went back on his stand on Ukraine, giving up territory if it wanted peace with Russia. He asserted yesterday after a meeting with Zelensky that Ukraine could actually win over all of its territory back in its original form. So what's really changed? Because just a month ago, when he met President Putin in Alaska, his position was that Ukraine has to wake up to the reality. Russia is a much bigger, stronger, more powerful neighbor, and Ukraine will have to live with conceding some territory. Now he's done a complete U-turn on that. So what explains Donald Trump's volte-face? US President Donald Trump reversed himself on one of the key foreign policy issues of his presidency. He abandoned the insistence that Ukraine give up land to strike a peace deal with Russia. Instead, President Trump has said that Ukraine, with the support of Europe, was in a position to fight and win back all of its territory in its original form. His turnabout was announced on social media shortly after a meeting in New York with President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine on the sidelines of the UNGA. This is in stark contrast to what he said a month ago in Alaska. After his 3-hour meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin, Trump had insisted then that Zelensky would have to face the harsh reality and make a deal with Russia. He also went on to say that Ukraine has no choice but to give up territory to its much larger and stronger neighbor.
frankly, Ukraine is doing a very good job of stopping this very large army. It's pretty amazing. You know, this is a war that should have ended in 3 days, 4 days. People said it was going to be very quick, and you got to hand it to the Ukrainian soldiers and everybody involved. It's still going on, and that's not a good thing for Russia. This was supposed to be quick, and so, you know, Russia doesn't look very distinguished, having taken 3.5 years now, right? It's about 3.5 years of very hard fighting.
Trump provided no rationale for this stunning turnaround, though several European officials who were also meeting him at the UNGA, they suspect that by distancing himself from the war, the US president was simply washing his hands off this conflict. He had famously once promised to solve the Ukraine conflict within 24 hours of assuming office. It's been 8 months that he's been in the White House, and President Trump has ricocheted from one position to another on Ukraine, oftentimes on polar opposite ends. In February, he slammed Zelensky for insisting on American aid. In fact, he yelled at him at the Oval Office, screaming out, "You don't have the cards." That interaction, of course, went viral.
You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
In Alaska last month, President Trump had taken a similar position, even promising to meet with both leaders of Ukraine and Russia and to hammer out an agreement together with these two countries. He had rejected the idea of pressurizing Putin to agree for a ceasefire. In Alaska, Trump had declared that instead of a ceasefire, a full peace accord would be more permanent. Trump was even in discussions with his European allies about creating some kind of a post-war security peacekeeping force in Ukraine. He also even committed to American air support to guard those peacekeepers and to establish a no-fly zone over Ukraine, but he insisted there will be no American boots on the ground. But now, a month later, he's clearly frustrated with Putin. Putin has embarrassed Trump by never really being serious about executing on the commitments made at the peace negotiations in Alaska, and now realizing that, Trump is changing tack. Trump insists that Putin had given him peace assurances only to see a step up of attacks on Ukraine in the past month. Trump then wrote a long post on social media on Russia's economic and strategic difficulties. He also added that Putin's forces were a paper tiger. That's the opposite of how he described Russia before, as a nuclear-armed superpower. Trump also wrote about gas station lines and vast amounts of money being spent by Russia on keeping this war going. Trump, though, never explained why he now believes that Ukraine, which has continuously lost a large amount of territory to Russia, would suddenly be able to seize all of that territory back. Zelensky, who was also speaking on the sidelines of the UNGA, decided that his best strategy was to welcome the news and praise Trump instead of trying to join issue with him.
President Trump, just now, and we spoke about how to finally bring peace, and we discussed a few good ideas, and I hope they will work. And I'm grateful for this meeting, and we expect America's actions to push Russia toward peace. Moscow fears America and always pays attention to it.
Well, it may be many months before it's clear whether Trump's declaration amounts to a game changer for Ukraine, and really, will it help Ukraine or will it help Russia in this brutal and bloody conflict which has been going on for 3.5 years? Trump also said on Tuesday that NATO countries had the right to shoot down any Russian military aircraft that enters their airspace. In Estonia last week, Russian fighter jets spent over a dozen minutes over that tiny country's airspace. And just days before that, Russian drones flew deep into Poland and they were shot down by NATO fighter jets. Russia said that those drones had mistakenly been flown in from Belarus. But it was clear that Putin was pushing to check NATO's red lines and also to check NATO's defensiveness. Trump also said that the real reason for the prolonged war in Ukraine were actually China and India continuing to buy Russian oil. He also chided European powers, asking them to stop buying Russian oil and gas, something he said was akin to Europe helping the Russian war machine attack itself.
China and India are the primary funders of the ongoing war by continuing to purchase Russian oil. But inexcusably, even NATO countries have not cut off much Russian energy and Russian energy products, which, as you know, I found out about 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't happy. Think of it. They're funding the war against themselves. Who the hell ever heard of that one?
One of the great unknowns now is how Putin will react to Trump's shift. He had clearly calculated after the Alaska meeting that the American president had no stomach for a continued and prolonged conflict, and he has no interest in continuing to donate billions of dollars of weapons and non-military aid to the Ukrainian cause. Putin was also clear that Trump had no interest in letting American soldiers join a NATO peacekeeping force. And now, all of that comes undone, and Putin has to go back to the drawing board. So is Donald Trump's critique about India and China being the primary funders of the Russian war machine, is that valid at all? Well, let's look at the hard numbers, right? The European Union is the largest buyer of Russian LNG as well as piped gas from Russia. The EU purchased 50% of Russia's liquefied natural gas, LNG, followed by China at 21% and Japan at 18%. As far as piped gas is concerned, this is even before Nord Stream got into play, the European Union was the largest buyer of Russian piped gas. 35% of all Russia's pipeline gas was purchased by the European Union, followed by China at 30% and Turkey at 28%. So when Donald Trump says India and China, biggest buyers of Russian oil, are the ones who are funding the Russian war machine, that's not quite accurate. But here's the reality. At least for India, that secondary sanctions will have to stay until there is some form of peace between Russia and Ukraine. Vivek Kaju is former secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs. He's now joining us. Mr. Kaju, we can quibble all we want with what Trump has said. His math doesn't add up, the double standards, singling India out, no sanctions on China, etc., etc. But are we now to live with that secondary sanction of 25% till Trump deems it fit that there is some form of a peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine, and then he will take off the secondary sanctions on India?
Or if we stop buying Russian oil, which is contrary to what we have said. At the moment, Trump, I think the issue before Indian diplomacy is how should we react to a statement from Trump, both on this, and if you permit me to say, on his assertion again in his UNGA speech that he mediated between India and Pakistan. So the UN, he has said this now, not unilaterally. He said it unilaterally but he said it in the UN context, and it is now as part of the UN record. So how do we react to that? Should we, as is normal, go and give a statement in the UN refuting this charge, or till now, at least, I have not seen any such statement. So I think we are holding our peace. But I think you are absolutely right, Zaka. Trump has made it quite clear that as far as India is concerned, he's not so much interested in facts. You can be blue in your face telling him that, look, we are not the main purchasers of Russian oil, that China has making more purchases, that NATO, which he's now acknowledged, that buys more of the energy, but it doesn't make any effect on him. He is not interested in facts. He's interested, if you permit me to say, in his own version of the truth of what he finds convenient. And as far as, if you permit me one more comment, as far as all this is concerned, that Ukraine can recover all its territories which are under Russian occupation, I don't take it seriously.
Okay.
Because the Russian military machine is more powerful. And my last point, which is the most significant point, which he hasn't articulated, Putin has warned time and again that Russia has weapons of mass destruction. It's quite unusual for a leader of his stature to say this, but he has said so. He has warned everyone that, look, don't take us for granted. If we are pushed to the wall, then we will defend our interests. And that includes the territories which he has with him in Ukraine, some 20% of it,
yeah, correct,
of Ukrainian territory.
Okay. Mr. Kaju, just give me a moment. I want to come to another issue which again directly concerns Trump and concerns India, because it's about the controversial overhaul of the US H-1B visa program. And that's causing widespread concern amongst Indian tech companies, amongst Indian engineers, their families. Millions of families are trying to grasp the full impact. Since the announcement, there's been a lot of confusion mounting over this major shift in American immigration policy. So on the 20th of September, the government of the United States announced a shocking $100,000 fee for H-1B visas. A day later, they clarified that this fee was limited to new applicants and new applications, not for existing visa holders or even for renewals. Then the White House hinted at possible exemptions. Doctors, for example, will not be brought under the ambit of H-1B. It also highlighted the critical role of healthcare workers. And today, under the new overhaul of H-1B, the US administration is proposing that the lottery system, which was the existing system for H-1B, will be completely scrapped, and instead, weightage will be given to high-skill, high-pay applicants. Now, many countries around the world already use what is called a points-based system to fix eligibility for work visas. In the UK, for example, 70 points are needed, 50 are mandatory, and 20 are tradable. You need 70 points to be able to move to the UK on a work permit or on some kind of non-immigrant work visa. In Australia, again, it has a point system. It takes into account all kinds of factors. Age is a factor, gender is a factor, English skills, education, all of those are factors. And again, you need a certain minimum number of points before you can apply, or at least before your visa is successfully processed. Canada uses a comprehensive ranking in its express entry pool. New Zealand, too, requires at least 6 points for you to emigrate there. Singapore employs a point system to ensure eligibility and diversity, and Germany has what is called an opportunity card for non-European Union job seekers. South Africa requires 100 points for critical skills or general work visas.
They also provide a huge amount of talent and innovation, for which Indian engineers and Indian graduates are famous. That also provides us an opportunity to provide solutions for corporations across the world, including in the US, to support their growth plans, to support their plans to focus on new research and development, new ideas. The startup ecosystem in India is very vibrant.
The average Indian working in Germany earns more than the average German working in Germany. And that's pretty good news. Because a high salary means that Indians are contributing big time to our society and our welfare. Our migration policy works a bit like a German car. It's reliable, it is modern, it is predictable.
So let me go back to Ambassador Kaju. So do you think the shortfall, if any, and there will be a degree of shortfall, no doubt about it, of the number of Indian engineers and techies who go to the US, at least in here on out, can that be compensated by other countries like Germany or UK or Canada? I believe even China has now issued something called a K visa.
I don't really know. I think the attractions of the United States are unique, and they are rooted in some kind of tradition in many parts of the country, for example, in Andhra Pradesh, in Telangana. Naturally, someone who is looking out to go abroad for work, and if his path to the US is blocked, might look at Germany. But he will, I'm sure he or she will see how the H-1B visa system evolves. I think if you recollect, Lutnick, while he was made his first announcements, said that this is not the final word, that we are still evolving this policy. Now, I'm not saying that what they've done is correct, but I do think that Indians, while they would very much look at other pastures, will still find America the greenest. And Trump has made it quite clear that he is trying to pressure us from both ends. That is my feeling. Through tariffs at labor-intensive industry through H-1B visa at the high end of our employment. I think you played a clip of our commerce minister, and he's right. We have enormous talent. But Trump is not impressed with these things. I think we should be conscious of the man we are dealing with. We are dealing with, of course, a very mercurial man, but a very smart man. I take it as an assumption that no one could be in his position unless he was smart. In his own way, he's extremely smart. He knows exactly what he wants as far as the American economy is concerned, as far as immigration is concerned. And he is let us not kid ourselves. He is really putting enormous pressure on us. He is annoyed, I think, at the fact that we didn't, and we couldn't, because that was untrue. What the government did was absolutely right, that there was no American mediation. Americans were talking to the Pakistanis, they were talking to us. But in his mind, we are not accepting what he feels is something that he did for which he deserves the Nobel Prize. So you're dealing with this man. What do? We should be prepared for every kind of pressure. There's talk that he'll put a tax on remittances for non-American nationals. There's talk of outsourcing taxes. So the German ambassador may be very happy because Germany is, it's an aging population and they want people. Okay. So we should look at all that. But Germany and Europe has its own problems. After all, the intrusiveness when it comes to child care, that's a question that should be put to him. Okay. And to the other Nordics, and to Nordics, etc. That, look, will you respect our culture when it comes to these issues?
Ambassador Kajju, as always, a pleasure, sir, speaking with you. Thank you so much for joining us with your thoughts and perspective. It's a busy time in the world of diplomacy and for diplomats, as indeed it is a time of great uncertainty for many, many H-1B holders and their families. My colleague Griha brings you an explainer, a deep dive into one such case, and then juxtaposes it with what is likely the case of hundreds of thousands of Indian techies whose future in the United States is sort of hanging in the balance, even if the White House has said this new rule does not apply to existing visa holders.
He had tried 3 times and lost all 3. Yet, instead of giving up, 26-year-old Bengaluru technologist Tanush Sharanarthi shifted lanes. He refused to remain a lottery number. He leaned into merit. And finally, he won something far more reliable than chance: a US O1 visa for individuals of extraordinary ability. His story lands at a moment of dramatic churn in the US immigration policy. On one side, there's outrage over an H-1B system that gives away limited visas by random draw. On the other, the Trump administration is proposing to re-engineer the system, tilting it toward a merit proxy based on wages and slapping a staggering $100,000 fee on new petitions. For many, like Tanush, those changes could validate a pivot toward O1 or other merit-centered paths. But for thousands, especially mid-level and early career professionals, the shifting rules may deepen exclusion rather than democratize access. Since its inception, the H-1B program has capped new visas at $85,000 per year, including $20,000 for advanced degree holders. Demand routinely exceeds supply by several multiples. In 2024, more than 339,000 registrations were submitted. Only 120,000 were selected. The rest were left to the vagaries of the lottery. This randomness has long rankled critics. Jobs, families, careers hinge on chance. Even well-qualified applicants, those with top institutions, strong portfolios, or in-demand skills, can be rejected repeatedly. Enter the O1 visa. An uncapped non-immigrant visa reserved for those who can show exceptional ability in fields like science, business, arts, or education. It's built on standards, major awards, high-impact contributions, original work, media recognition, etc. As if confirming the shift in tone, the US Department of Homeland Security is now proposing to abolish the pure lottery in favor of a weighted selection process that favors higher paid positions. Under the draft rules, applicants in the highest wage tier, roughly more than or near about $162,528 US, would receive 4 entries in the selection pool. Those in the lowest tier would get only 1. The theory to reduce abuse, reward top talent, and push hiring towards senior, better paid roles. This is not a full merit visa, but a merit proxy via wages. The intention is to realign H-1B with specialty skills more than volume. But draped over that proposal is a bombshell, a $100,000 fee on new H-1B petitions. The administration claims it applies only to new applications, not extensions or renewals. This fee outstrips current filing costs, which range in the low thousands, by orders of magnitude, however. The policy rollout is timed for disruption as early as the 2026 lottery cycle. But the legal challenges loom. Prior attempts to change H-1B rules under Trump were struck down or withdrawn. The final shape of this will depend on litigation, public comments, and congressional scrutiny. If this is where the system is heading, here is who stands to gain and who stands to lose. Winners will include senior specialized professionals whose roles command high wages. Their odds improve under a weighted system. Top-tier firms with deep pockets and ability to pay premium salaries, absorbing higher costs and fees. Applicants like Tanush, who already stack credentials and can ride the intersection of merit and income. Losers will include early career workers, graduates, junior roles, whose salaries fall in lower tiers. Startups and smaller firms that can't stretch compensation or absorb punitive fees. Applications from countries with high demand, especially India, which accounts for 71% of the H-1B beneficiaries. The risk of chilling innovation, roles that are inherently low-paid but strategic, research, social, tech, non-profit, might be sidelined. The $100,000 fee, in effect, multiplies the barrier. It transforms what was once a modest cost of entry into a gate so high that many cannot even attempt. The weighted lottery might feel like merit filtered, but the fee feels like a toll gate. So here's what to watch out for and what to do. Public comment period. DHS is accepting feedback. This is one lever where voices from India, academia, startups, workers can shape the final rule. Legal suits. Past efforts to overhaul H-1B were halted. Courts may again question the fee, the wage proxy, and statutory authority. Firm strategies. Companies may shift more roles offshore or prepay salaries to bump candidates into higher tiers. Visa pivots. We could see surges in O1, EB1, or alternate paths, L1, OPT, as aspirants hedge their bets. Talent outflows. If US becomes too costly or unpredictable, India, Canada, Europe may become more appealing landing pads for global tech talent. The US is rewriting the rules of skilled immigration in real time. The lottery doesn't disappear, it evolves. And in that evolution, the leverage is shifting. Tanush's rise over the H-1B glitch is powerful not just because he won, but because he refused to remain in the game as defined. He redefined the game. As the rules shift again, many will watch whether the system finally rewards the ability or simply raises the entry toll. In this moment of transition, it is Tanush's journey that matters more than ever.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
There is a latest flashpoint in the ongoing Rahul Gandhi versus Election Commission drama, where in a recent interview, Rahul Gandhi accused the government of undermining the integrity of India's electoral system. He said that his party's strategy revolves around mass mobilization against this. He also said that he is certain huge parts of the country will not accept a rigged election. The BJP wasted no time in firing back, questioning Gandhi's intentions. BJP leaders argued that his remarks are an attack on the Indian state, calling him, quote, dangerous for the country's democracy.
ये वही राहुल गांधी है जिसने
The situation is tensed but under control is what we are being told. Let's quickly go across to Arunima, who's joining us live from the newsroom with more details on that news story. Arunima, if you could take us through what is the Home Ministry's reaction? How is the government monitoring the situation?
Well, so top Home Ministry officials are speaking to the governor of, the Lieutenant Governor of Ladakh. Kavinder Gupta is in touch with the centre, and top Home Ministry officials are analysing the situation. This is what they tell me, that yes, the situation is tense, but it is not out of control. We are sending in, this is what Home Ministry tells me, that they are sending in 4 companies or 4 additional companies of ITBP to Leh, also 4 companies of CRPF which were deployed in Kashmir Valley. They are moving up the national highway as well and reaching Kargil, reaching Leh to ensure that the situation is fast brought under control. Like I told you, their analysis of the situation is, yes, it is tensed, but it can't be called as something which is out of control. Deployment of adequate forces on the ground, flag march by forces on the ground is expected to calm down, tempers and also force protesters to withdraw and get back home. They have been very aggressive. The BJP office there has been set on fire. They've been stone pelting continuously. But once the forces hit the ground and the flag march begins, perhaps
After more than 60 years of service, the Indian Air Force is all set to retire its iconic MiG-21 fighter jet. The final farewell will be held this Friday, the 26th of September, at the Air Force Station in Chandigarh, where the 1st Squadron was based. Chief of Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal Amarpreet Singh, will lead a flypast on the very last day of the MiG-21 service. The aircraft has trained generations of IAF pilots, including the current Air Chief Marshal.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network. This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
The situation is tensed but under control is what we are being told. Let's quickly go across to Arunima, who's joining us live from the newsroom with more details on that news story. Arunima, if you could take us through what is the Home Ministry's reaction? How is the government monitoring the situation?
Well, so top Home Ministry officials are speaking to the governor of, the Lieutenant Governor of Ladakh. Kavinder Gupta is in touch with the centre, and top Home Ministry officials are analysing the situation. This is what they tell me, that yes, the situation is tense, but it is not out of control. We are sending in, this is what Home Ministry tells me, that they are sending in 4 companies or 4 additional companies of ITBP to Leh, also 4 companies of CRPF which were deployed in Kashmir Valley. They are moving up the national highway as well and reaching Kargil, reaching Leh to ensure that the situation is fast brought under control. Like I told you, their analysis of the situation is, yes, it is tensed, but it can't be called as something which is out of control. Deployment of adequate forces on the ground, flag march by forces on the ground is expected to calm down, tempers and also force protesters to withdraw and get back home. They have been very aggressive. The BJP office there has been set on fire. They've been stone pelting continuously. But once the forces hit the ground and the flag march begins, perhaps there will be more deterrent. That's the analysis here in New Delhi. But they're constantly monitoring the situation. I think Home Minister could also get in touch with the Lieutenant Governor very soon. But top officials definitely are speaking to the local police there, as well as the Governor LG's office, to offer whatever help is required. And in the meantime, whatever political negotiations are needed to calm down tempers also are being initiated.
So, Arunima, over the past 3 years, Ladakh has been witnessing unrest, so to say. But today we are seeing this sort of situation quickly spiral out of control, especially the problem being that they do not want direct central control. They want control over their land, their resources, their culture. What has led to this spiraling out of the situation?
So let me take you back to August 5th, 2019. That was the day when Jammu and Kashmir was reorganized, when Ladakh was carved out as a special, separate union territory, separate from Jammu and Kashmir. That gave Ladakhis the hope that they will be able to move forward on the path of development faster than what it was when they were part of Jammu and Kashmir, because Srinagar was very distant from Leh, and there was a feeling in Leh and Kargil that the benefits of development were not reaching them because the political establishment was headquartered in Srinagar. So when August 5th, 2019 happened and this separate union territory status was given to them, there was a lot of hope. But very soon, the union territory demand turned to demand for protection under the 6th schedule. 6th schedule is the protection that you give to tribes where they